Okay.
Kelian shrugs.
Right. I never took you as a snitch.
Kelian offers
was
a
the
bag with
target.
no.
I
think she's got a right to be upset. Again, and any other situation, Kelian would all be about just slipping this poison into that druid's drink.
And about this time, you guys start hearing other people rousing from slumber. Some of them coming out of their rooms. You hear movement in the adjacent rooms.
Anyone want to come with me to look for Aasimar, and it's on my own.
Yeah, Kelian will tag along.
Okay. What's Mahogany going to do?
All right, I'll come with you.
Does Mahogany hand Riot the poison?
No.
I
Mahogany's
thought-
gonna hold on to it.
I thought Kelian had it, and he gave it to Riot.
Oh, in that case, that makes sense because I did hand it to Kelian.
Yeah.
So, Riot, you now have the poison in your hands.
Right. I'm going to go
Where are you going to look for
downstairs.
Stez? Downstairs?
Downstairs. Yeah.
Okay. Going downstairs, you see Gunder with a broom, cheerfully cleaning up.
I'll wave hi to her and say, Stez this morning?
And she says, "Oh, I think Stez went outside for a moment. I think he went to... He has to do work on the beacon, but I don't know what. Too difficult for me."
Did he say
Okay.
when he'd be back?
Usually only takes him an hour.
Well, we can wait.
Okay. Serenity and Elsie Clone.
Hey.
What are you guys doing today?
Coming down for breakfast. Apparently missed all of this intrigue. Who's in this room when I leave?
First of all, there's no breakfast. They serve one meal a day.
Okay.
In that room, when you leave, the two monk brothers.
Are they awake now? Are they in here?
They're awake now because other people have walked through their room to get back to the common room in the morning. But they don't seem too perturbed or put out.
Nod to them on my way through.
And they return the nod.
Does anyone show up downstairs in heavy armor?
In heavy armor? Throw me a Wiz 10.
Okay.
La Tormenta, the raging storm.
See, I already said it, La Tormenta.
Oh, I wasn't there for that.
Oh, that was like La Tormenta
That's it.
plus 80 other words, so I was like, no, it's too long.
I
The
suggested
closest-
Tempest in a teapot.
The closest thing you saw to armor being worn would have been Middle Bob's workman's leather.
Okay.
So if you had to guess who was making all
So
kinds
yeah,
of noise
that was
getting
a
undressed,
one.
yeah, you could assume that that's Middle Bob's room. Middle Bob the Third. So it's going to be an
All right.
hour before Stez returns. Anybody doing anything for the first hour of the day?
Giving Elsa Clone more suggestions.
I'm gonna sit downstairs and wait to see if what's her face Earthwolf shows up.
Okay.
Head downstairs and then see Riot down there, and I join her.
Yeah. Kelian will accompany Riot.
Good morning.
Okay, listen, guys. There's not a luchador name generator on fantasynamegenerators.com.
Yeah,
but
that's shameful.
there is an anime attack name generator.
What?
So
No.
Elsie
Basically
Clone's
the same
new
thing.
name is the
No.
Exalted Clone Extending Crab.
Nope. Nope.
Okay. How about Light Blossom Catching Cricket?
How about this, Brick Road? You cradle my nuts. How about that?
Focus Bird Seal?
Cradle My Nuts sounds like a really bad luchador name.
It does.
Cradle my nuts.
I did.
Does.
Mar
It's not all fancy
Enforcito,
names, but I did end up
the Raging Sea.
Earthwolf
What's it
does,
doing raging?
Name
It's like you're a
generator.
barbarian or something.
Earthwolf
Yeah.
does come downstairs. After Gunder finishes sweeping up and goes into the kitchen, Earthwolf appears down the stairway and goes into the kitchen herself. Does Riot follow her in?
Mhm.
Does Riot go in with her?
Yes, she does.
Okay. Then let me get the downstairs again. Oh, I guess I better leave these letters here for now. I didn't save them. That's fine. When I reload the upstairs, they'll still be there. So you go into the kitchen. Gunder is preparing whatever it is that she's going to be serving for tonight's meal. Earthwolf is in another quarter of the room. It looks like she's boiling a tea kettle.
Riot will walk up behind Earwolf and says, "Hi there, making some tea, I see."
And she jumps out of her skin as you shock her. As she spins around, and she kind of stammers out, you startled me.
Oh, didn't mean to. You might like some sweetener for that tea. And I hold up the packet of poison.
And she didn't have a lot of color in her face to begin with, but what little was there completely drains away. And she says, I that doesn't smell very sweet to me. I think I would not like any.
No? Maybe I should give this to Gunder then. Maybe she can put it in everyone's meal. Do you think they would like that?
Gunder turns around and she has a big smile on her face. And she says, "It's been a long time since anybody brought spices." And Earthwolf
There you go.
says
What do you
nothing.
What do you say, Earthwolf? Shall we spice up the meal with a little bit of...
And she says that might be pleasant. Do you hand the poison over to Gunder?
No, I don't actually want to poison anybody.
Gunder looks like she's ready to accept it, and Earthwolf looks like she's not about to stop you.
And I say, oh, so it's good for you. Don't want any of your tea then, huh?
And again, she says, "Doesn't smell very sweet." And at this point, when it looks like you're not handing it to Gunder, Gunder pulls her hand back, and she looks very confused.
I'm going to dump it into Earthwolf tea. I say, well, why don't you taste this for me?
Okay, so you open up the kettle and dump all of it in there?
There you go. Should be good.
She looks very upset. She says, "This is
Oh, but it's what?
most untoward. I'll see that Stez hears of this." And then she tries to blow past you out the door of the kitchen.
Okay.
Do you stop her?
Riot takes the... no, Riot takes the... And she pours it down the hole.
Back door's locked.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, then she's just gonna bring it back to her room.
So
Is
you're
there a
gonna
bathroom?
take the kettle upstairs?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess there would have to be a dunny room.
I would rather pour it down there. I was like in the bathroom to make sure nobody drank it.
Okay. So,
But yeah, I would rather find it like a privy or something.
I mean, it's not a room that any of you have access to. You all would just have chamber
Pour it down
pots in your bedrooms. But trying a few doors, there's a room back in this northern area up here that is a dunny hole that probably once or twice per day Gunder collects all the chamber pots and empties them out. And very foul smelling.
You know what? I
Let's
probably asked Gunder dispose of things.
And she points you in the direction of the dunny hole, but she says, like, she looks very disappointed that you've wasted such pleasant-smelling spices. The rest of you out in the common room, you see Earthwolith storm out of the kitchen and just very quickly stomp up towards the stairs as she disappears up to the second floor.
Look over at Kelian, raise my eyebrow.
I'm sure that's fine.
Kelian holds his hands up, so you're like, I'm innocent.
I was just like,
No, she was
you haven't-
awfully loud stomping up that hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looks
We
very
gotta tell
agitated.
What's going on?
What does Riot do after she disposes of the kettle?
She goes back to sit with the others.
Okay. Is everybody at the same
Sure.
table in the common room at this point?
Actually,
I'll move myself.
After a moment, the two monk brothers come down and take up chairs at their table. Looks like they're breaking their fasts on rations they brought with them. Some kind of hardtack. Just very plain-looking biscuits of some kind. You don't see engraved, but 3 of the 5 gnomes come downstairs, including Middle Bob, to have their morning drink. Then a few moments after that, Stez comes back inside the door, and he goes through the ritual of locking it tightly, and is walking through the common room. Goes
Leave him over to our table
You what?
once he's done with that.
Okay. Yeah, he just exchanges a few...
To our table once he's done locking up.
Okay. He exchanges a few words with the monk brothers, and then he sees you beckoning him over, and he comes over to your table. I trust you slept well.
Actually, there was a bit of a disruption.
At the just mention of the word disruption, you see his face go sour. And before you even explain, he says, I trust none of you were the cause of this disruption.
No.
shake my head.
And if I were to ask, you would all stand in defense of the Hearth?
Absolutely.
Yes.
What
Nod.
happened? Actually, instead of asking what happened, he asks you all to rejoin him in the meeting room in here.
Okay.
And he looks around very, very suspiciously, especially at the gnomes. And once again, he goes through the rigmarole of asking if anybody's going to resist his zone of truth.
Not at all.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
And he places it. And he asks,
I've got plenty of truth to tell you.
and he asks you to tell of this disturbance.
Yeah, we
I'll
tell
let
him the
Mahogany
whole
go
story.
first, since
Yeah,
And
let Riot go first. What does Riot tell him?
Riot tells him about the poisoning plot that Earthwolith has been trying to poison both the Tieflings in the Hearth.
And mentioning Earthwolith's poisoning plot, you see this look of just, what's the word? Like pity on his face, mentioning Earthwolith's madness. He says the elf has been here since the days of my predecessor. Perhaps before his predecessor. They say she's been here for more than 100 years. Bleakers at the gatehouse consider this to be her cell. All attempts at getting her back to Sigil have been met with extreme distress. The decision's been made to just keep her here.
Has she ever hurt anyone before?
She's tried, but so far her plots have all come to nothing because she tells too many people about them.
she seems relatively harmless.
Oh,
Riot bristles at this statement. Harmless.
Oh, Riot, you're fine.
You're awake and everything. How did she get the poison?
That's what I'm more concerned about.
From time to time, people such as yourselves bring all manner of things here. Sometimes I acquire supplies, foodstuffs, that sort of thing, off of travelers like yourselves. Sometimes the other patrons barter in exchange for things. I can only assume that that's how she acquired whatever she used to make this poison.
She's been here for hundreds of years. How did she get gold to barter for it?
She doesn't have any gold. She offers promises, honeyed words.
Kelian bristles at that statement.
She's lucky she hasn't been stabbed for it, though. I guess you're a good caretaker, so that's a bit of relief to my mind.
Some have tried, and those that have tried have taken the drop. And he looks at Riot, and he says, "Understand that you have the Cabal's apologies for her actions, but any reprisal on your part will be met with the drop. We're clear."
Why?
She's not a patron of the Hearth. She's not a guest here. She's an inmate.
She has their protection. Serenity kind of shrugs. This makes perfect sense to her.
Since she's under your protection, and since she's attempted to harm a member of our party, surely you wouldn't mind doing a small part to make things right. We told you before that we're looking for a way to get back to Sigil, and you have to have ways of getting supplies to and from there. Could you help us out with that?
No. The road in which the supplies travel to take here is not one that I can send you on. It's a Cabal secret. If I were to reveal it to you, I would be betraying my faction.
Then you expect me to stay here with that woman?
I expect you to leave eventually, when you find your own way home.
Oh, right. If you need someone to keep you safe, I can. I'll be your bodyguard. It'll be fine.
He looks at Kelian.
Right?
He looks at Kelian. He says, all of Irthwolith's, all of the walls surrounding her room, unbeknownst to her, have ways of looking in. I can show you an eye hole if you'd like to attempt to keep tabs on her. I placed you in the room next to hers.
She's incredibly dangerous. I don't know if keeping tabs on her will do any good.
Riot says, listen, I'll give no reprisal on her in exchange for something from you.
He waits to hear your demand.
I want to help Gunder in the kitchen. I won't eat anything here that I didn't.
He says, then you will eat what you brought. I think you misunderstand the nature of our relationship, Miss Riot. Because I'm offering you protection. I'm offering you walls. I'm offering you locks. You think that this elf is dangerous, that you can go back out and face the winds.
And that is the
way. The elf is dangerous in a way that the walls and the locks will not protect me against. I want
exactly. This was not part of
to
our
help
business arrangement.
prepare the food.
He looks at Kelian and he says, we don't have a business arrangement. You came asking for charity and I gave it. And I continue to give it. You do not have leave to use my kitchen. You do not have leave to access my stores. You brought rations with you. You may eat them. Is there anything else?
Nothing.
Then he dismisses the spell, unlocks the door, and lets you all out. This is the level of paranoia you all have come to accept from some members of the Bleak Cabal. Especially considering that Stez has lived on Pandemonium for God knows how long.
All right. Well, once we're back at the table, I say, all right, we can stay here for 5 more days because that's all the rations I have.
Oh, you can eat my rations. It's fine. But I think we should probably save some for the trip back. So we should honestly be working on finding a way out of here because I am completely done with this plane.
Yeah.
I'm done
Me
with
too.
this place. The sooner we're out of here, the better. We need to get back to Sigil now.
I agree. And for last, not least, because I'll apparently die in 4 weeks.
Yeah, about that. That's a bit mortifying.
Oh, it's harmless.
I don't know.
You're so
Sometimes-
brave, Riot.
El Mar Infinito, the Infinite Sea. And every time she says this, she points directly at El Ciclon. Every time she suggests a new name.
They're getting
La
better,
Aether,
but
the
not quite.
Ether.
They're getting better, but not quite.
The winds have so far not subsided outside. They sound as strong as they were last night. So what is your intention for today? What is everybody planning to do throughout the day today?
Red's gonna go see if she can convince the Middle Bob company to leave sooner.
Okay. Is anybody going to go and help her with this endeavor?
Kelian sure is.
Yeah, no. Serenity will get in on this.
Okay.
Who was the other tiefling?
Engraved.
Engraved,
yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think Mahogany hasn't. I know Mahogany did talk to them. That's right.
In that case, I'll go hang out with Middle Bob. They seem interesting.
Okay. There's not space enough for all of you to sit at this table for 5, but you can crowd around. And as soon as you approach, one of Middle Bob's companions speaks up. Says, you've come around on the drink. Says, it's 2 gold for a mug if you provide your own cup. We sell ours for 3.
And Red says, sure, I'll take one. Oh, I don't have a cup, do I?
No. Well, unless you've got one on your character sheet.
No, I don't.
You have a water skin, I'm sure.
Yeah. I do have that.
But you've got to throw
I could make
throw
you a
away your water
mug,
first.
like the one I made you on Green Beer Day.
You don't have your tools. or
Whatever
anything
happened
with
to that mug? I gave you that mug, right?
you. Oh, does Riot not have that mug anymore?
No, the people.
The people have that mug.
No.
I forget what happened to it. It sounds really exciting though.
The people's mug.
But yeah, they sell the beer for 2
As I
gold.
recall, she kicked it over in the street and left it there.
Oh. So you pay him 3 gold?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the women, not the one who looks ill, but the other one, accepts the gold and heads upstairs. And a few moments later, she comes down with this gnomish crafted, but clearly made for the size of a human. It's a metal tankard. She hands it over to Middle Bob. Middle Bob reaches under the table, drafts some beer into it, brings it back up, puts it down in front of you. Has a nice frothy head on it. And on the side of the mug is
These gnomes drinking the beer already?
on the side of the mug is a sign for Middle Bob's accoutrements and curiosities.
Mac.
These.
I'm going to say that you've heard of them, Mahogany, because you have your own store and you do business in that area of Sigil.
Alright.
What you know about Middle Bob, I'll ask you this. Have you ever been into the store before?
What do they sell besides accoutrement and curiosities? Like,
To your
what kind of
understanding,
curiosities?
like, they don't have a window that you can see their wares in. But
If they don't have a window and their sign says accoutrements and curiosities, then Mahogany's been inside.
then you've been inside. Okay. Then they don't really sell anything in Sigil. It's more of a transport business. The Middlebob family is mostly prominent on whatever their homeworld is on the Prime. So their premises in Sigil, at some point in the past, their family became planewalkers, and so they collect strange curiosities from out on the plains that would kind of feel mundane in Sigil, but they transport them through Sigil back to their prime material plane where they're worth a lot more.
Okay. That sounds like a standard Sigilian business.
Not so much, actually, because most... Middlebob is strange in your area for being a prime business. Most primes that come to Sigil don't stay long because they can't hack it. But this is Middlebob III. His family's been around for a couple generations. And most of your business circle don't patronize the store just because they don't have anything that they want. They don't craft or build much of anything.
This seems like a place I might have gone to in order to get weird lumber.
Yeah, that would be fair to say. They make frequent excursions to, especially to Arborea and Elysium, to find especially naturally colored lumbers, the kind that would look very out of place on the Prime. Essentially, so they can make furniture that they don't have to varnish. That sells to nobility on the Prime. Not the kind of thing anybody in Sigil would be that interested in.
God, that sounds exactly like something Mahogany would be interested in.
Okay.
Furniture that shows its true form without any varnish on it sounds exactly like something Mahogany would like.
You've never done business with with Middlebob III himself. And that tends to be because he's always walking the plains somewhere. Most of the business you've done would be one of his... They keep it all in the family, so one of his younger nephews or nieces who mans that storefront.
Lesser Bob?
Lesser Bob. So you don't recognize any of the five sitting at the table just because you've never seen their excursion group before.
Alright, and I'll just say, oh, Metal Bob's. I've been in your shop. It's a nice place.
He thanks you for your kind words. Nobody gives any indication they know you even exist.
Rude. But, and Mahogany will say, so, will you be heading back to Sigil anytime soon?
And you see most of the gnomes exchange glances with the woman who looks like she's ill. Middlebob nods and says, soon enough. Typically we stay here for 6-7 days. So we're not in any rush, if that's what you're asking.
And,
Did you just get here?
Day or two before you did, I think. It's hard to count the days sometimes.
Well, while we understand you're in no rush.
That was it. You cut out. We understand you're in no rush.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Do you mind us if we come with you when you leave?
Gnomes all look around, exchange glances, and says, no, don't mind at all. It's not a particularly unsafe road, but extra sword hands never hurt. One of the men speaks up after that. Says, we plan our route through Pandemonium very carefully to avoid the sticks.
Sounds wise.
But no, they're not looking to leave anytime soon. And anytime you ask, they look back over at this woman who seems like she's ill.
And Mahogany will say, is she alright? Is she going to get better here?
So first trip. Middlebob is saying this, the oldest one. So first trip. She doesn't know the way Pandemonium works yet. If she would listen to her elders and learn, she'd feel better. And you just see her kind of scoff at that remark.
Mahogany will say, we're interested in anything you have to say about the dangers, and maybe we could share a few of our own. We had a bit of an exciting journey getting here.
Well, and yeah, Middlebob, one of his companions, asks for specifics. He'd like to hear what you all went through.
And I'll say, well, just as for one thing, there was this creature that seemed to bring the darkness with it. And I'll turn to Riot and I'll say, Riot, perhaps you can tell the story better.
Riot, we'll go ahead and tell the story.
Okay. And as you conclude the story, like, how do you flourish it? Do you embellish it, or are you just matter of fact?
Always embellishments.
Okay. So what are the embellishments?
Anytime she says something mostly true, Mahogany will nod.
Okay. So what do you embellish exactly? Because the way it went down was the lanterns went out, and it attacked a few of you. Then Mahogany cast Fairy Fire and managed to see one of its claws, and then you drove it off.
Well, I'm going to say that we pursued and killed it.
Okay.
After a savage battle.
Do you play up Mahogany's role in the story, the use of Fairy Fire?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you say about the winds at this time?
And I'll say...
You don't have to exaggerate the winds. They were hurricane force at the time, so...
Yeah. And I'll tell them all about how it blew us about. We got knocked into walls. Things like that.
And
I'll talk about our I'll play up our experience with the river, how we went so far after
Okay. The gnomes look with approval when you mention Mahogany's use of Fairy Fire. And you don't think... Make me a charisma performance.
A lot of threes this session. Luckily, her performance is disgusting.
You're pretty sure they don't believe that you hunted down and killed the shadow creature. But they don't interrupt. And
Fair enough, it wasn't true.
at the end of the story, they confirm, Middlebob, the companion to his right, the one who speaks up most often, he says, that would be a shadow demon. A type of Tsunari out of the abyss that does particularly well in the lightless environment of Pandemonium. Says they're difficult to kill, but your light drove it off. That was smart.
Mahogany will say, thank you. It was difficult with the winds. I had to try a few times.
Everything is difficult with the winds.
And use up all of my belief points.
The other woman then speaks up and says, you needn't worry, though. That river you passed wasn't the Styx. I wouldn't drink the water as a matter of routine, but if you fill up your water skins and can suppress your gag reflex enough, you can get it down. It's also not very deep. I imagine you folk could wade across it.
How can we tell the difference?
Between regular water and the Styx.
Mm-hmm.
Middlebob says there's a very easy way. What you do is cup your hands into the water and drink it. And afterwards, if you remember why you've done that, it wasn't the Styx. To which the rest of the gnomes laugh.
What if we get a very small animal, like a mouse, and teach it something, and then we drop it in the water and see if it remembers it?
See, that might work better, because I'm a cipher, and I usually don't remember the reason why I did something afterwards anyway.
And at that remark, at both of
There's
those
usually
remarks,
not a reason.
the gnomes all seem very amused by the two of you. And then Middlebob speaks up and says, it's not often we find cause to laugh on Pandemonium. If I were a more generous man, I'd offer you both a free drink.
That's alright, I wouldn't want to pick my jaw up off the table.
By the way, Riot, how much of the beer did you drink?
Oh, I kept trying to ask you, but
Oh.
kept cutting out because
Sorry.
I never got an answer. Did I have I seen the gnomes drink this beer yet?
Oh yes, yes. Looks like they brought several casks with them.
Then I drank all of it.
Okay. It was good. Yeah, you never had its like before. Yeah, it was decent.
When did your companion start exhibiting symptoms?
Everybody exhibits symptoms, he says, kind of with an air quotes sound to his voice. Long enough on Pandemonium. As I'd be shocked to learn that none of your companions have yet. As they get worse, the more you're exposed to the winds. Worse and worse and worse. But at the end, they get better. At the end, the mind makes its peace with the winds. And that's why she should be outside. And again, she kind of scoffs at the remark. Clamps her fists
Mahogany
together.
is feeling significantly more concerned about the idea of leaving with these gnomes.
So all right. So let me tell you what I'm thinking and how that might be able to translate into a role.
Okay.
Kelian suspects that maybe this woman has been poisoned by crazy elf woman.
Okay.
Since he has proficiency in a poison kit, is there any? Can he just look at her and just give a sense of, she's been poisoned, as opposed to no, it's just crazy pandemonium.
Make a wisdom check at advantage, because you've both seen the starting of the effects of the winds, and you know the exact effects of that poison.
Okay. Straight wisdom at advantage gets me 21.
Good.
No, this is not the effects of the poison you saw very clearly.
Okay.
And watching her through the conversation, she looks just very agitated, very upset. You see she's trying, you see her hands are clenched together tightly. When she goes to reach for her drink, you can see her hands, she's trying very hard to keep them from shaking. The only time she adds anything to the conversation is when people mention the winds or the dangers, and just to acknowledge that fact with this very curt and matter-of-fact agreement.
Okay. All
Middlebop
right, that's
says,
good. That's good.
The trick is to stay within eyeshot of the beacon. Go out into the cave outside. Won't be able to set up a camp if the winds are too heavy, and let's face it, the winds are being very uncooperative right now. But when they die down a bit, when they're not so strong they can buffet you about, I would behoove all of you, go out. Remain for a day or so, within eyeshot of the beacon, so you can get back to safety if need be. It's not pleasant, but acceptance does come. The winds are not as dangerous as everyone makes them out to be.
How long is a day or so?
So to that I can only say, you'll know when you've been through the worst of it. And when he says that, the other three gnomes at the table all nod in acknowledgement, as though they've been through all of this before. They've made this journey several times.
Serenity's just gonna kind of sidle up over to Mahogany at this point and whisper into his ear. So, how crazy are these guys usually when you go to their shop?
I never met any of these guys. I'm curious as to whether people have left with them before and come back.
Just so you know, Mahogany, because you would know this, most of the Middlebob company that has lived in Sigil for a long time and still works there, the majority of them are sensates. None of the five sitting at the table are wearing colors to that effect, but it would be a safe assumption, just knowing that you've been in the shop.
Alright. Bringing that up seems like a good way to get kicked out into the winds. Though.
I'll let Serenity throw a Wiz 10 here as well, because you've been raised with gnomes.
Yeah.
So that's a 20. A predominantly large number of gnomes, especially those from the Prime, those that become adventurers and therefore planewalkers, a large number of them are illusionists.
Okay.
So the assumption that at least part of this group would be proficient with illusion magic would probably be a safe bet.
Okay.
So they see Mahogany and Serenity whispering amongst themselves. And one of the men looks over to Kelian. So what are your friends whispering about over there?
Kelian shrugs. I don't know. You gotta ask them. They don't include me in on these conversations.
And you see the man look like he's about to start to ask them something, but then he thinks better of it and just leaves them to their whispering. So what else are we hoping to get out of McDohl and company?
I'll ask if they've had any dealings with Earthwolf.
And McDohl scoffs and says as few as possible. We try to steer clear of elves on the best of days, and I don't think she's seen the best of days for many, many years. McDohl asks if any of you have been to the Prime Material.
Mahogany shakes his head.
Stopped on a Prime Material once for a delivery, but not for very long. I was just a caravan guard. Weird place.
So you all are born in Sigil or on the Great Wheel somewhere then.
For given values of born.
Then I'll clue you into something you wouldn't know. All planes cause madness, not just pandemonium. Every plane gets into your brain somehow. Many people from the Prime Material can't handle it. When they come out here, it overwhelms them. As I don't know where Earthwolf traveled after she left whatever world she's from, but I think she was mad before she showed up here.
I'm from Shurok, actually. Does your family have any relations there?
No family, but many business partners.
Oh, obviously.
Looks approvingly at you. He asks for your clan name.
I don't think I've ever made that up. Let me check my notes, though.
Okay. Would it be a clan?
I know a good site where you could find one.
Would it be a clan that does a lot of business with Sigil? Craftsmen or miners
no,
or
actually.
something?
I think they mostly keep to themselves.
Okay. Then whatever you tell McDohl, he hasn't heard of them. But he says he knows a lot of gnomish families that take in foundlings of other races.
She nods.
So you know the value of a good day's work, and more's the better.
Yep. Absolutely.
Anything else with the gnomes? What is Ciclon up to at this time?
I would have been interested in joining the two brothers for a conversation if they're so willing to.
How do you approach the conversation? How do you start out?
I'd walk up to the table and say, "Hello, fellows. Do you mind if I join you?"
And they don't mind at all. They invite you to sit down.
Take a seat. Introduce myself.
They introduce themselves as Jinhai and Yang, and you can't tell the difference between them.
Twins.
They look back and forth at each other and then back at you. Perhaps. We have different parents, but we have the same soul.
Cock my head at that.
Aw, that's adorable.
But that's all the answer they give you.
Let me hang on one second. I thought my notes were open and they weren't because I'm good at computering.
I've made it a point now to start opening all of my D&D notes before I go to sleep on Saturday. So when I wake up, they're already open. That way when I go to double check, I don't have anything that's still closed. Except for Photoshop today, apparently, because I'm great.
And what brings you to this? He searches for the words and then just shakes his head and What brings you to this neck of the woods?
And one of them, who's either Jinhai or Yang, you can't tell, says, "A folly, as it were. We came here
Folly?
seeking something that may well not exist.
Well, then what doesn't exist?
The place of perfect silence."
Ciclon looks like he's about to say something sarcastic, but then thinks better of it.
He says, he begins to give you a lesson in the mythology of whatever their particular tradition is. And he explains
I'll listen.
that in every world of the prime material there are 4 winds. A northerly wind, a southerly wind, an easterly wind, and a westerly wind. And he pauses for a moment to make sure that you understand the concepts of north, south, east, and west.
Barely.
He says that his order, the monastery where he's from, on Elysium, believes that the source of all of these winds is somewhere on Pandemonium. So there's a place somewhere on Pandemonium where the 4 winds originate, and in the middle of those 4 winds is a place of perfect silence. If one were to stand there, they can achieve enlightenment.
I'll nod slowly. It sounds like an interesting endeavor. I don't know if I believe it myself, but given my very limited experience of this place.
And they explain that they were set upon by monsters in some caves not far from the Hearth. They managed to escape with only minor injuries, but that Jinhai lost his pack. So they managed to make their way to the Hearth by sheer luck. Came here to lick their wounds, reprovision themselves, and they're going to leave again and begin their search anew.
Nod. Your travels ever take you toward Sigil?
And they both shake their head. Nothing for us in that place.
Understandable. That's where I'm headed, though. You wouldn't happen to know anybody who's from that area, would you? Aside from the gnomes over there?
No, they were about to motion over to the gnomes.
Yeah.
They've only been here a couple of days. So they haven't seen a lot of people come and go in that time. But they hear tell that people come in from Sigil from time to time, and they also know that the Hearth is resupplied from Sigil somehow. It's their understanding that there's some kind of community or organization in Sigil who is responsible for administering the Hearth. But they haven't been able to get a lot of information about it out of the Ratman.
I'll nod, but I won't clue them in as to what I know, because I don't know if that would violate the Ratman's rules in here.
So what else are you looking to raise with Jinhai and Yang?
If I were a normal if this were a normal place, I'd ask them to trade techniques, but since there's no fighting allowed here, that kind of ties our hands in that regard.
Do you tell them that?
Yeah.
They kind of give a show of surprise when you reveal that you're a monk, and they begin asking about your tradition.
Well, I wouldn't really call it so much a tradition as it is, well, just something I picked up on my travels, and it's and then Ciclon is going to try and explain as best he can what he feels that of his own ideals of the luchador, the ways of the luchador, but then he admits, it's, I really don't know if that's really the right way to go about doing it or explaining it, because it's one thing to say that you're it's one thing to say that you strive to be strive to be a hero, but it's another to do it in practice.
And so what difficulties have you faced in striving for these ideals?
I'll look back over at where Kelian and the others are chatting up with the gnomes, and then, well, one of my traveling companions for starters.
And is that all the elaboration you give on that subject?
Yeah.
One of the monks says that it's extremely important to travel with those who share your ideals. Perhaps if your companion is causing you distress, it is better to cut ties and part ways.
Well, I really wish I could, but it looks like I've been drawn into some kind of All right, this is really going to sound ridiculous, right? But, and then I start to explain about how 8 of us woke up with 8 of with each of us with an object of ours missing. It reappeared the next day with a letter from some fellow calling himself Aunt Nancy, and there's some kind of game going on regarding that. I'm not really sure of all the details myself, but all will be revealed in time, apparently.
And they listen intently to this, at how you feel you're caught up in this game, in this plot. And one of them says, what sets man apart from the winds is that the wind is obligated to blow in a certain direction. The north wind cannot turn west. The west wind cannot turn south. But man can walk against the wind. Sometimes it is difficult. Sometimes it is painful. In the case with this place, it can be treacherous.
That's true.
But man is not pulled by the wind. Do you understand?
Not.
So what else are you looking to get out of the monks?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, you're going to stay there and continue to
Otherwise just swap stories mostly.
It is 5 o'clock. Let us take a 10-minute break. I feel that we've had a couple hours now. We've had a nice little break from Pandemonium. But I think it's about to throw some more Pandemonium at you. So, let's take 10 minutes and prepare for that. Everybody go refresh your drink. Make a sandwich if need be.
Okay.
Oh, good. The stupid's about to start.